How's it going, everyone? Well, I know it's been a while since I've done an interview with anyone. It's been last year, I think it was, that I did, last done an interview. But these two are a great set to kick the year off. You know, it's already halfway into the year almost, basically. But no better way to kick off, I think. So these guys, so Brook Potter is someone I've spoken to many times on his show. So I actually have a history with him, but this is the first time I'll be talking to Amos here, and they're both were part of the 10K Rum podcast. I got into the 10K Rum podcast, and as soon as that happened, it seems the 10K Rum podcast just kind of stopped, and the guys went their own ways.
Yep.
Yeah. So. It's been almost a year now, right? Well, first off, before we get into the 10K Rum podcast, how you guys been? How you guys been, really?
What's going on, V? Good to see you again, my friend. It's been a while. It has been a while. Amos as well. We haven't been on screen on any kind of stream, as you said, in almost a year. Although we've been keeping in touch, which has been great.
Yeah.
I'm doing all right, man. I'm focusing on the work. I'm just trying to stay healthy out here. For your viewers, I'm out in South Wales in the United Kingdom. Haven't been doing a lot of streaming. I actually almost lost my monetization on my channel. So anybody checking this out on YouTube, look me up. I could do with the subscribers. Been doing a lot of shorts just to try to keep the channel going. Keeping a lot of controversial comments coming out. Being censored by the algorithm and pressed by big tech. It's just been great, man. I'm living my best life. Good to have us on the show, man. I much appreciate it. Good
Absolutely.
To see you again.
And it's good to meet you, Amos. How have you been?
I've been good. No, I haven't been on any sort of shows or anything. I mean, okay, scratch that. I mean, I've been, there's a group of guys that I play Dungeons and Dragons with called Masculine Geek, who we've had on our show, and we've been on their show before. So they do like a every 2 weeks, usually, or every week, depending upon the scheduling. We'll go on there and live stream and play the game, and then that's like 4, 5, or 6 guys. So it's just I'm kind of in the corner, and it's more about the game than it's not really like a interview or anything. So other than that, I mean, I really haven't been doing anything like media wise. So
Sure.
That's not entirely true, Amos. You did an interview not that long ago with another couple friends of ours from Happa.
oh yeah, I mean that's like
No,
no.
the competition.
No. Yeah, I mean, our friends over at, I mean, they were called Hoppe Supremacy at one point, then they changed the show to What's Happening, and then now they're calling it the Hoppitarians, being like a play on words of libertarian. They wanted to talk to me about, actually, surprisingly, an article I wrote about Taiwan. Which I guess gained a lot of traction within our circles and stuff. So
Yeah. Well, that's something I'd like to kind of get back into across this talk. But I just want to kick things off with it's been almost a year now since 10K Rum closed its doors, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So
Don't remind me. Oh, it burns. It burns.
why do you regret closing it, or do you just not want to think about the podcast anymore?
I mean, it was a mutual decision. It wasn't anything I regret. I think Amos and I put our blood, sweat, and tears into it as best we could. It was a weekly show. It's still up. I think we're still on Podbean and what are you on? iTunes as well? Is it still there?
yeah, so Podbean is the podcast hosting platform I use, and they had an option. They said, instead of paying like the full hosting amount, they have what's called like a legacy hosting, where it's like a quarter of the price you pay annually for them to just hold it. So you're not actually, you could always go back to it to like start it up again if you want, but in the meantime you're paying this like smaller fee for it, just to hold it, which I'm fine with.
And that's that's Podbean.
Yeah, and basically it's a host where you can go. It goes on to like Spotify, I think Google Podcasts,
iTunes.
iTunes. Yep.
The big
It
ones.
just holds it there. Like it acts like just any other podcast. It's just the expectation is you're not adding any more to it, or you're not making any large edits to anything.
Sure.
So.
Right.
But I mean, it was such a good project. This was Amos's idea. You know, he kind of came up with it. And you know, for your viewers and listeners, we started off as the shitlord preachers, right? Because both of us had like a history in ministry back in the day. This is a long time ago, but, you know, before we went all pagan.
Yeah, this was basically my lead-in question is how you guys met. How did you start the show? So let's talk about that.
Well, how we met.
How we met is
Okay.
All right, you was seeing how we met, and then we'll do the show.
Okay, let's do that.
2012? Yeah.
Yeah. End of 2012.
End of 2012 is when we met in person. Basically, so I was working. This again, we're both preachers. We're both in ministry. I was working with a group when I was living down in Texas for 6 months, and so I made a couple connections along the way on my way out of there that led to connecting with Brook. We were a few of us were talking about like kind of like there's a core group of guys that talked about this big old ministry trip they wanted to try. Basically getting a whole group of us, like 15 of us?
About that, yeah.
To go to Thailand and Singapore for like a month. And we went there, and like before we got there, like we're getting our passports, we're doing all sorts of stuff, but I started connecting with all these different guys, and then one of them was Brook when he had a full head of hair.
But I had hair. I didn't even have a beard. Oh my god, I was so young.
That's right. I mean, you had like scruff.
Stubble, yeah. It didn't grow like, you know, like.
But you weren't like fully. Yeah, you weren't growing it like you are now. And I remember it was like, you know, this Trinidadian guy on Skype, just, you know, I'm calling you, and it's like, just, you know, imagining that video quality of just low quality video, you know. He's talking into that omnidirectional mic, so it's picking up everything. But we're talking, and like there's this guy from the Caribbean that I'm talking to who's a Christian, and we're ministering. Yeah, we're no. Here was the thing that was so shocking about Brook was he was swearing.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, who's this guy? We're, I'm like, because I'm still like very, I was like a good wholesome Christian boy, and this guy
obeying the rules, Amos.
yeah, this guy comes in and is just like, we're just, just. Can we swear on this show? I guess I don't know. Like,
go right ahead. We already said shitlord preachers. Why don't just say all the shit you want?
No. It's just, I mean, he just comes in. I don't remember even like what the context.
What I said.
You're just like, yeah, we're these fucking crazy people. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess. Like, it was weird when you would hear, a fellow, like, minister type of guy who was, like, swearing. Like,
right.
It's not like I never swore, but there was obviously that compartmentalization. Like, if I'm with these people, yeah, I'll talk a certain way, but if I'm among Christians, it's like,
you gotta put on the show. You gotta
exactly
stiff up your lip, man.
No, we talked for like an hour and like really hit it off, and then we met in person. And I think out of like all the people, like I was getting along the most with him, which is where it kind of like continued on from there. Like anytime we'd be together or we'd be apart, we'd be talking about stuff, getting to know each other.
It's 10 years.
Yeah.
Almost 10 years. We're still talking.
And then we went kind of past that. Once we kind of stopped doing the whole ministry thing, we've continued to be friends. Doing this project, and then we decided that we're not doing it anymore, but we're still talking. Brook and I were just talking like for the half hour leading up to the show. We just I caught him up on some stuff happening in my life. He was catching up on stuff in his life, and then we kind of, Yeah.
I mean, we pretty much adopted each other at that point, you know. So we're family.
Yeah.
You know,
Pretty much.
and I mean, I think there's a 12-year age difference between myself and Amos, right?
Well,
so,
sure.
you know, but I mean, he's my brother. I'm not that kind of father figure.
42, are you?
I'm almost 42. Yeah, how crazy is
wow.
that? Yeah, give it away for all the internet spies to like get my social security and you know other information. But yeah, I mean, me and Amos, when we went out to Thailand, there was a great group of guys. We got guys from all over the world, Europe, Asia. You know, people flew in from Australia and stuff, and we're still connected with a lot of these people today. Not as close because we're not really in that space anymore. But yeah, Amos and I, you know, we hit it off. You know, we've had some big moments together, you know, in his life, in my life. I came out for his 25th birthday, you know, I was like, flew out to him and took him for like a night out, and, you know, it was just crazy. It was like hookers and blow, and I don't know, I mean, you know, we went for pizza and beer and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah, pizza and beer.
Yeah, it's kind of like the gym talk, you know, rice and broccoli is, you know, the steroids, right? Yeah, we went for pizza and beer. So, but I mean, yeah, I've always looked at him like a brother to me, and you know, he was the one who came up with the idea for the 10K Rum podcast. At the time, we went through a couple of iterations. The first one was like Brook and Amos have a chat or something like that.
Three episodes. It was called the Brook Potter and Amos Joseph live stream.
Yeah, we had no title.
Right. Yeah.
And we're just, you know, we're doing still the whole, and we're live. Like everyone was saying that. Like, and then we gave it a name, Shitlord Preachers, and then we kind of really dialed it into that edginess, because I think we were looking at, there were these groups like, you know, Drunken Peasants podcast, and all these like, some play on words of two things, right? Like, I don't know, something priest or something. It was just, there are these names. So we're like, oh, well, we like shit posting, and we're preachers, so we'll like throw them together.
Mm-hmm.
But then, of course, like Brooke says, the algorithm, we couldn't do that.
We couldn't promote. We couldn't do ads. We couldn't do anything.
Everything would just come back instantly rejected because they see shit in there and they're just like, no.
Right.
So I mean, that was, you know, I mean, it was fun. And were we doing it at one point? We were doing it like twice a week. We were actually doing like a Wednesday and a Sunday show.
It was a Saturday and a Thursday.
Oh, okay.
We tried to really up the production schedule, and then we were like, oh shit, we started missing them after a bit. Like, okay, well, we're still doing one show, so we were like, dialed it back. We even had some like hiatuses along the way.
As you do.
Yeah.
And we almost got gobbled up, though. We almost got, like, you know, taken into a Borg continuum sort of thing, like a Borg cube with a bunch of other libertarian podcasts.
Someone wanted to essentially, take over the brand, essentially.
Take over you guys' show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Own the show. Like, we would still do it, but they would essentially effectively own all the, essentially it's an IP now.
It reminded me of the Wayne's World. What happened to that movie? You know, they took over the show. You know, and it's like announcers going party on Wayne, party on Garth, and you know it's all processed. You know, spruced up, but it's not going to be your show.
And
yeah.
But yeah, I mean that was kind of a tipping point for us, though, in the sense because we didn't take that deal. And I think we made the right decision not to do that, because we really owned. I mean, Amos really came up with the name and everything, and it was something very dear to him. But that's when we decided, no, we're gonna go gusto, put some money, rebrand, really try and get it out there. And how long did we do that, Amos? For 2 years after that? I don't know.
We made a decision to drop that whole thing, then we considered the rebrand, and then we did it. Yeah, I think it was like 2 more years. Then I think it was like late 2019 that we were kind of doing that, and then into 2020 we had the whole rebrand and everything, which then led into of course, now that was like the last stretch of the show, because we went into 2021, right?
I think we did.
Yeah, so we were going like then the rebrand happens. We're kind of doing our thing on our own, and like kind of going into that long stretch of towards the end of the show. The last year was basically through COVID. So we're like, you could really tell like you and I are just pretty much like doing the show on lockdown, just
nothing else to do,
basically, yeah.
But I think that was kind of a tell for us as well, because that's when everybody was home, everybody was listening to podcasts. It should have been a point where we would have had like the brand would have really gone out there. And as much as we tried, and we did a lot of promotion, we did competitions, we had some amazing guests. Even, as I say, the Libertarian vice presidential candidate, he came onto the show.
You had him on twice, right?
Twice.
Yeah, twice, that's right. And he put us out there, we did clips with him. Just never quite cracked that ceiling to really, make it take off.
We'd had some other guests too who had large followings, and we would kind of like, we don't want to pester people. We kind of, hey, could you like promote it?
Share it out,
Share it out, like, and then we would get like 100 subscribers, and kind of feel good about that. Or we had a guy who came on, Robert Frank, who came on, like, mentioned our podcast a dozen times before and after his friend came on, then he came on, and it just bam, 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 bam. And this is like a top 200 podcast on iTunes.
Yeah.
And it just
his podcast, The Glorious House of Gains, is
and the traffic just kind of wouldn't really quite get there. I was reaching out to people I knew and connections I had, and it just got really competitive to the point, like, granted, like, I would kind of be in this awkward position where people would reach out and say, like, well, especially during the pandemic, I was thinking about starting a podcast. Like, no. I mean, it was one part, I don't want competition. Another part, you're bored.
It's not what you think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, you're just bored.
Yeah. You want a hobby for the pandemic, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Which a lot of people did. Like, I saw so many podcast projects, like, they would do like 10 episodes, they'd have really good guests, and then it would die off.
Right, like, because the way I'm doing my channel right now, I couldn't care less about algorithms. I just get people on, whoever the heck I want. I just don't care. I'm just being there, and if somebody finds me, they find me. I don't try to mince words. I don't use things like "coof" instead of "COVID." Whatever, like some weird kind of dancing around in eggshells sort of a deal. I just didn't want to have anything to do with that from the start, so I'm just kind of doing my own thing. So,
good man.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so you mentioned you had guests on, like you had Spike Cohen twice. You got some other guys. I think it was someone named Steffi Cole. I think it was. There was that.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just looking through your repertoire and kind of like doing some research. A lot of the stuff I actually watched front to back was when you guys were still on, right? Yeah. So,
which we appreciate, bro. Thanks for joining us and being a part of the audience.
Yeah, absolutely.